All right. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited y'all are here. My name is Allison, and we're going to go over some goal setting. We've got kind of a new system we're working with as far as how we're going to do these calls. So we're going to do a little bit of mindset. We're going to do a little bit of kind of numbers and goal specific stuff. A little bit of strategy in there, and I'm going to give you a challenge at the end. So I am going to start sharing my screen again here. And I found this really cool, it's a very short video from Simon Sinek. If you guys have ever watched any of his stuff, it's amazing. So I'm going to play this one real quick. It's like 2.5 minutes.
The human brain cannot comprehend the negative. It is incapable. Yes, it's true. I'll give you an example. Okay, no, I'll give you an example. You don't have to believe me. I'll prove it. Okay, the human brain cannot comprehend the negative. You ready? Don't think of an elephant. Yeah, I know. You can't tell the human brain not to do something, right? And so what happens is we very often reinforce things when we put things in the negative. Right? I can't get apart. Right? Or I can't do this versus I'm going to keep doing this. Right? And it's such a huge thing to convert things into the affirmative. You're supposed to do it with children as well. We're supposed to say, instead of saying to children, don't eat on the couch, we're supposed to say, eat at the table. Right? We tell people what we want them to do, not what we don't want to do. Pilots know this, right? It is well known in the pilot community that when you tell a pilot, don't hit the obstacle, they'll hit the obstacle. Because what they're doing is focusing on the obstacle. Skiers know this. If you ever seen skiers go through trees, do you know how they do that? It's very easy. It's actually surprisingly easy. If you go through trees on skis and you go, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, guess what you're watching? You're only looking at trees. All you're doing is seeing trees. You don't understand how anyone can ski with all these trees, right? As opposed to follow the snow, follow the path, follow the path. The only thing you see is the path. Skiers know this. If you say don't hit a tree, you'll hit a tree. You won't be able to find a path because all you see is millions of trees. If you say only follow the path, you actually don't see any trees. There's actually very sparse trees. There's plenty of paths, plenty of snow. It's the same thing for you. If you focus on the obstacles, all you will see is obstacles. If you focus on the path through the trees, all you will see is path through the trees. It's your choice how you choose to perceive your own career. It's literally perspective.
What did y'all think of that? Do you like that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Who saw the elephant?
I know, right? He says, don't think of an elephant. I was like, well, dang, he's right.
My daughter was just telling me the other day, she was saying the same thing. She says, quit telling me don't forget. If you keep telling me don't, I'm going to forget.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hearing is forget.
Exactly. Yeah. And
He forgot it. So
yeah. And it struck me and made me kind of go, okay, well, if we're focusing on my people are going to quit, or my people aren't going to be ready, or they're going to tell me no. If I ask them about the business, they're not going to want to do this. And if that's what you're thinking, that's what you're bringing about, because that's what you're focusing on. Yep. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing when you're setting a goal initially. So I heard, and I cannot remember where I heard this story, but I thought it was so cool. So let's say you get in a taxi and you're going to go to the airport. And you're like, okay, I just need to go. And the taxi driver's like, where do you want to go? And you're like, well, I mean, I don't know. And then you're thinking of all the things you could do that, maybe stops you need to make on the way to the airport, or you need to go here, or maybe you're going to be too early or too late. And you're running through all these things. You don't really know where you're going to go. So the taxi driver's just kind of sitting there like, okay, well, where do you, like, I can drive one way or the other, but you have to tell me where you want to go. And if you don't give him any direction, the clock's still running. right? Time's passing. You're still sitting there and you've done nothing because you didn't decide where you wanted to go ahead of time. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a great analogy. Because if you don't tell someone, hey, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, then you're not going to be able to take the steps to get to it because you don't even know where you're headed. So I loved that idea. And then I was listening to another call earlier, and it was Emily Gibson, and she was talking about how when you set a goal, what's the first thing we do? We go, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then you walk away and you're like, but is it? And I don't know how am I going to do that? I don't know if it's going to work. And then shame comes in and fear comes in, and I don't have the right stuff, and I don't do this, or I don't have that. And then it's all the negatives that you're focusing on, like he was talking about, right?
Mhm.
So all that fear and insecurity and all those things. And then you're like, oh, it's fine. I'm just going to do it anyway. I got willpower. I'm going for it. We're doing this. And you're all excited, right? And you use your willpower, but then willpower runs out, doesn't it? Like every time, even if you have, whether you have a little bit of willpower, or maybe you look at somebody else and they have a lot of willpower, every time it's going to run out, because you can't build a sustainable, consistent business on just willpower and, hair on fire working. And you end up in burnout if you've been doing that. And y'all, I am speaking all of this from personal experience. I've been there, I've done that, hair on fire. And then I'm like, man, all right, I just need like a couple weeks. I need a little bit of time. I just got to clear my head. I need to get out. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks have gone by. I'm like, oh my gosh, my goal. Oh, I haven't done anything. And then hair on fire working, right? Problem is when you're all in and then you're all out because you need a break, your brain is taking little mental notes and it's going, oh, that's how this works. Okay. So in order to do anything, we have to be like insanely full-time working 24/7 to hit a goal. And then your brain goes, well, that's not sustainable. So we're going to make sure that she takes a break. So you kind of replay that in and out. And it's normal. It's common. It's human. Like we all do it. Like I said, I've done it. And I think anybody who's been in this business for any amount of time can recognize a time period where they did that, whether they saw it then or whether they can look back now and see it just because you're hearing it. Everybody's had that happen. And then you start to kind of go, okay, well, is this really for me? Like, should I even be doing this? Like this roller coaster is so stressful, right? And something that Emily said that really struck me was when you're in that all in and then all out roller coaster, you're missing out on being the best possible version of you.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, wow.
Mhm.
So it's really more about becoming aware of when you find yourself in that trap of like, yes, that worked before, but we don't need to do that because you can build a team and have a family time as you go. It may not be hair on fire, fast building, but that's okay if that's where you are. But you still need to be consistent. So you have to find those disciplines in that middle ground and those small daily things that you're going to do every day. And we'll talk about that when I get to some strategy and challenge stuff. So when we are goal setting, we say, okay, where do we end last month? Does anybody want to share numbers or anything? I'm not going to force you, but if you want to, it's more fun.
Sure, I'll go. So
Okay.
I ended last month at 30 points. So my goal is to re-rank at 50, and then my before gold school, I want to be at gold. So that's what we're shooting for.
Okay.
But my
So-
last month were 30.
Okay. So you ended at 30 last month, and this month you want to re-rank senior silver, right? So we're going to go to 50. Okay. So that gap is that part between the 50 and the 30. That's that other 20 points. That's that gap that we're going to try to bridge, right? So you want to stop and go, okay, now how many people is that? On average, if you're the one recruiting them, it's going to be 6 points per person. So you're going to need
4
people.
Mhm.
If you have a team building under you, then it may be a little bit less per person, just because you want to be sure that you're taking that into account, because the farther down they are, the points change a little bit. So
Right.
do you have people working under you?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. So how does it feel when you stop and go, okay, I need to get 4 people this month? Does that feel doable, or does that feel kind of a little bit of a stretch for you?
It feels doable. I have 1, so I need 3.
Okay. All right. So you've already gotten 1. That's right. I saw that. Good.
Mhm.
Awesome. Congrats. Okay. So we need 3 more. And you feel like that feels doable.
I feel it feels doable as long as I'm doing the activities and staying consistent. That's been these last 2 months, like you said, where we were talking about your break. And so definitely I took that step back, and when you're in a spot where you feel like you have that momentum going and then you stop doing those things, then obviously all your momentum dies off. So just working back in those, finding those disciplines each day to stay consistent so that that momentum continues to grow. So I think it's definitely doable.
Yes. Good. Well, that's good, because you're like halfway there already, because you've already recognized that, like, yes, when you stop doing those things, like all the momentum's gone, and then you have to kind of like start that Titanic turning again, which is a very slow process. So
Right.
all of that, though, is created by feelings. So when you think about that kind of like, okay, I've let my momentum go, does that motivate you to keep going, or does that make you feel like, oh, maybe it's going to take a little longer to get to gold?
I think that's what's caused that freeze
Mhm.
in these last 2 months, to not like it's that constant struggle. It's like, oh, I want to work towards that, but then it's like you go to do that, and then all of those simple activities or things that once seem so simple, all of a sudden seem incredibly hard, and they're not
Yeah.
hard, but they seem that way. So that's been the struggle, and because of that freeze, it's taken a lot longer than I would have liked. But that's part of it. So it's part of the journey. So just got to keep going towards it.
Yes. Well, I like that you have a good mindset on that, because when I've had some of those things where I've gone for a goal and I've missed, and I've done that a few times, or I've fallen way back, which I've also done. I had a hard time not taking it personally. I had a hard time not going, wow, what am I doing wrong? Like, I must not be a good leader if, and then it goes into my self-worth, and then what energy am I putting out in stuff? When I'm sending messages, if I'm sending it from a place of feeling frustrated and sad that I missed the goal, and that I'm not necessarily the leader that I needed to be, or whatever, if I'm sending messages from that energy, they're not going to be received very well, right? And it's going to be really hard for me to motivate myself to do the work. But you said you've already kind of dealt with that kind of stuff, which is good. So you're going to be more motivated to do that work, because you're already feeling like, okay, this is possible. So if you're in that kind of, if your gap looks bigger than Kim's does, maybe you have a gap of 100 points, maybe you're a little further along and you have a bigger gap, but you do have a few people working on your team. You need to stop and go, okay, what's going to happen? Like, what do I really feel like it's possible? When I walk away from this call and I say, yes, that's my goal, that's what I'm going for. When I walk away from this call, am I going to kind of go, oh, well, I mean, I think it's possible, but I've gone for it a couple of times. I've tried it. It hasn't worked. So your brain's kind of like, well, it hasn't worked before, so we're just going to keep doing the same things. So you've got to break out and do things a little differently, because your brain is like way smarter than we give it credit for, because it knows when you're lying to it. It knows when you're like, woohoo, we got this goal. And it's like, no, you don't. And it knows if you believe it or not. So if you truly believe that you're there, and that you're doing the things, and that you're worth that goal, and that it's meaningful for you, and you believe that you have something to offer people, then when you're reaching out, it's got that confidence, it's got that energy, and you're talking to people in a different way. And it's not as hard to motivate yourself to go back and do the things. Like Kim said, when you haven't done them for a while, it's like, oh man, I got to go send a couple messages. Yeah. And then if we're feeling frustrated, what do? We're going to go clean the house or something, right? How many people clean when they're like, oh, I didn't hit that goal, I'm going to go like fix something or straighten something. Why do you think we do it? Because we want to feel accomplished, right? Your brain is so smart. It's like, oh, she wants this goal, she's not quite there, and she doesn't believe it's going to happen, but she really wants to feel accomplished and wants to feel like she hit that goal. She wants that feeling of accomplishment. So we're going to do these easy things where you get a feeling of accomplishment. The laundry's folded, the floors are clean, the dishes are done, whatever that is. And then you get that feeling of accomplishment. Your brain's like, sweet, we didn't have to do that other work. So that's where that discipline comes in, where you have to go, okay, I see what it's trying to do. And you're laughing. Anne's like, that's so me. Right? I'm telling you, I speak from experience. This is like all me. But yeah, you have to be willing to tell your brain, like, okay, I see what you're doing here. I see the cycle that you're putting me in, and I'm not going to do that, because I know that I can feel accomplished just by sending my messages and doing my reach outs and my follow-ups and the daily things that I know I need to do every day. So that's part of noticing our thoughts. We're going to challenge them and we're going to reframe them. So it's like, okay, nope, I know what you're up to. We're not going to do that, because I know that this is possible. And that's the first step in making that goal. So when we have teams, and part of the reason that we wanted you guys to, sorry, pull this thing out here. Part of the reason we wanted you guys to fill these out, it's not so much for us to be able to like look at everything and nitpick through it. It's so that we can look at them and go, you know what, how can I help you the best? What is it that you need? And it's so that you can look at your own goals and at your own self and decide what it is you need to get there. And then we get to help you do that. So if you didn't get a chance to fill out that form, I did get several of mine back already. If you didn't get a chance to send that to your leader, please do. I think I avoided those for a long time, right, Randy? I didn't necessarily send them in. They'd be like, oh yeah, do that. I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do that, because I was trying to, get accomplished. And that is huge. Make the time for it, because it makes a big, big difference when we're setting goals, because that helps us break it down. If you're looking for gold, you don't necessarily want to go, okay, I need 14 people. You want to say, okay, realistically, how many people am I going to get? Okay, I'm going to get 5. I need 14 total. So we're going to go, okay, I've got 9 more people. That's 3 silvers. So if I get 5 and I help 3 of those people to silver, gold. So those are the kinds of things that I want you to think about when you're talking about goal setting, is think about who can I help? And the way that that Emily was talking about it was her question that she asks herself every day. And I love this, and I'm going to start doing it too. How can I help one person add one person today? And she's like, it's that simple. It may or may not happen that day, but it gives you an action to do, because when you ask your brain, how can I get one person to add one person today? Whatever pops in your head, she's like, just do it. And then you take that action. So it might be have an event. It might be like, hey, let's do a Zoom call. Let's do a messenger event. Let's do a sip and see. I'm going to write out a post for you, and then send me a good picture of you to use with it. And then when they send a picture, if it's not a great picture, you'd be like, you know what, let's get another one of just you. Send that over to me. And then when they send it, you've got the post. You're like, okay, here, post that right now. Like, we're walking them through the steps and helping them find their people. And that's how we're going to be building a smarter, wider business. And that's how you're going to reach those goals, because it's not something that we just want to do all by ourselves. If we're all in, hair on fire, recruiting like crazy, and then we take time off and we don't do anything because we're exhausted, then we're not setting ourselves up for success. And I want y'all to be set up for success. I want y'all to get those daily disciplines. Ask yourself every day, what's something I can do to get that one person to add someone? And y'all know that it's going to be a little uncomfortable, right? Know that when you set a goal and you're like, all right, I got this, and I've set this goal and I've gotten myself super excited and I've worked on my mindset and I'm in, it's not going to stay that way. It's not the whole month through. You're not going to be like every single day, like, oh, this is awesome, I got this. There are going to be days that you wake up and you're like, nobody's getting back to me, either seeing my messages and they're ignoring me, or they've ghosted me. They said they were going to show up and they didn't. I sent them the stuff and now they're not even looking at messages. Like, there's always something that's going to happen. And that's where you start to question, right? And that's where you start to kind of get that back of your mind, and your brain's like, oh, yep, it's what we thought was going to happen. Take that thought captive, reframe it, know that you're going to feel a little up and down about your goal throughout the month. And that's okay. That's normal. We're going to feel like that every time. And it's okay to still be moving forward. So one of the ways that you can kind of tangibly work around that is go, okay, what did I do that moved me forward? What was the tangible item that I did that helped me get a step forward this month or today or whatever? And stop worrying about what the whole goal is. Because if you stress yourself out and then you get in your head and stop working for a little bit, and then the end of the month you're on fire again, then your brain's like, yep, that's what we knew how to do. And then you're in and out and in and out. And if you guys are familiar with the Bob Heilig popcorn effect, then you're trying forever to pop popcorn that's not going to pop because they're not getting that consistent heat. So I didn't say that really well, but that's okay. Bob says it better. Y'all can look his stuff up. But I just want y'all to be encouraged that it's normal to set goals, feel stressed, feel like maybe that's not the right thing. That's a normal thing for your brain. It's like self-protection, but we want to help you work through it because we help each other work through it. Like we look up to our leaders and our sponsors to help us get through that stuff. Because we've all got it. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. Everybody's looking at somebody and saying, I need some help with this. I need some encouragement. I need some positive encouragement. That's what mine was. I was like, I just need positive encouragement. Like, Randy's an amazing leader, but I'm like, this is what I need. That's what I know I need. Not that she doesn't do a great job at it already. I just know I need that. So it's very important to be aware of what your brain does. So I want to challenge y'all to kind of pay attention to that thought. Pay attention to what it is when you set a goal. Katie, you said the same. Yes, because I saw yours. I want y'all to pay attention to what your brain says when you set a goal and then you walk away. I want you to pay attention to what it does, what it thinks, whether it's saying, you didn't hit that last time, or whether it's saying, do you really want to do that? That's going to be work. Or is it saying like, okay, we got this and we're going to break it down and we'll figure out how to make it happen. Because that's what we want to go towards. And it's baby steps and it changes every day. So I want to leave y'all with a challenge because I know we're running close to the end of our time. I'm trying to keep these nice and brief so they're good. The challenge is I want you to ask yourself, like, what's that one thing that I can do to help one person, add one person? And I want you to tell your sponsor and I want you to do the thing. So regardless of what it is, they may be able to help you with it. It may be something that you need to do on your own, whatever pops in your head when you sit down and really think about it. That's what I want you to do. And I want you to share it with your sponsor. And then when you do it, I want you to shout yourself out and be like, woohoo, I did it. Because you took a step forward. Even if nothing came out of it right then, it's a step forward and it's in the right direction towards your goal. So that was my challenge. That's what I've got for you for tonight. I'm going to open it up if y'all have questions or if you want to share anything that spoke to you or anything that popped into your head.
Could you just repeat that challenge? I
Yes.
want to make sure I got it right.
Yep. I want you to ask yourself, what's the one thing that you can do to help one person on your team add one person? So you want to help someone add someone.
Mhm.
And then I want you to tell your sponsor and your leader, and then do the thing. Shout yourself out when you're done.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Can I share something that happened to me? I was ready to call someone and I'm thinking, she's probably going to quit. And I said, why can't I find other people like me that just go for it and jump in and just do it and always do it? And I won't miss my pink drink. I don't miss my pink drink ever. And why can't I find somebody else? And I thought, well, if you keep saying they're going to quit, duh, you know? So I'm changing that.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing it. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember. Mom told me that the other day and I was like, very, very good. I love reframing that one.
Didn't even realize I was doing it. And I've been in sales for 30 years. I mean, really? Okay. right.
It's good. It's all about being aware of what your brain's doing and going, wait a second.
Mhm.
Anybody else? We've got about 6 minutes left before it's just going to kick us off regardless. All right. Well, I'm going to end the recording and then we can just keep chatting if y'all want.